Hi, hello. This is YouTube Librarian Mike J. Dubensky. And I'm reading from Best Technologies for Public Libraries. It has published by Libraries Unlimited, and it has a 2020 copyright. I skipped over the chapter on drones and the very popular 3D printing chapter to get to virtual reality. But they also have an augmented reality section, which I haven't totally not begun wrapping my mind around at this point. I'm not an AR guy, I'm a VR guy at this time. The way I understand AR is that it overlaps images onto reality, and that's about it. I don't know. I don't know AR, but I have spent some time getting to know virtual reality, and so I would like to take a look at it from a professional point of view, from an industry specific point of view. Okay, so these authors did provide something interesting to look at. So why don't we take a look at it? They recommended some websites that I totally wasn't familiar with. Let's take a look at it. Digital trends. I doubt they're going to be very good, but they might be. And they might have gotten a free PlayStation 5 VR2 headset for being in the industry. For review purposes. So they are getting stuff. Let's take a look at digital trends. I'm not familiar with it. I barely made it to Metacritic for video games. I barely made it. I took a look at Game Informer, especially the subscription to a magazine, and that's gaming. But there are like good reviews and there are bad reviews, and my experience might not be your experience. And that's always something to keep in mind with smart technology. You might not be getting my personal experience, might not be your personal experience, but it might be your experience as well. I don't see much on virtual reality here. It should be easy on digital trends. I don't know if you just put that there. I searched for VR, and there is some information on VR. 4,459 results. What is VR? PlayStation VR 2 is my first headset. Here's what I think after 1 week. That is unceremonious. Echo VR shut down. PlayStation VR 2 adds more stuff. Yeah, there's some industry specific information here. Some PlayStation VR games are not backward compatible with PlayStation VR 2. So we have quite a bit of information about VR2 here. A multiplayer Ghostbusters VR game is coming to PlayStation VR2. So I see quite a bit of information about VR2. Um, Apple is hiring hundreds for upcoming AR VR headset. AR, and it would be on the AR side of the spectrum. Um, okay, so we took a look at digital trends. There is definitely something to think about there. Let's look at PCMag.com. Let's look at VR. We have the best VR games for 2023. They're acknowledging Valve Index and Windows Mixed Reality platforms. I'm not sure. But let's look at it. There are 638 results. That's not unsubstantial. In terms of gaming, okay, so we have some game Astrobot Rescue Mission. I saved Astrobot too from the rescue mission. Beat Saber, totally recommended. Blade and Sorcery. I don't know if we're supporting um, the manufacturer so that we get a better experience because I certainly didn't get. I kind of got this cool outdoor chilling center concept that I could hang out in. Elite Dangerous, not familiar with it, but it's for Oculus Rift. It's for PC VR users. Slightly outdated. Everybody's golf VR. I did, in fact, deploy the motion controllers on that. I lost a synth rider somehow, but I still have the golf. Ghost Giant, don't know what that is. The player is the titular Ghost Giant and a young cat named Louie by solving puzzles, lifting items, and manipulating the game room. Not convinced yet. Half-Life Alex. It's for PC VR users to a large extent. And so I found a Steam group versus a PlayStation VR emphasis. People who, and that was important because arcades were built around PC VR, the storefront arcades, and so probably there is some interest in things from a PC VR still, but as of 2023, I'm not sure. There's Moss. Moss gave me a really nice church I could have spent some time in without leaving it. If I stayed in the church, I would have gotten a very good experience. No Man's Sky. Pistol Whip, very highly recommended. Project Cars 2 is not available for Meta Quest. Be careful. PlayStation VR customers. Resident Evil 4. I'm sure that's thrilling for some people. Resident Evil 7. Is that actually VR? I think they Res Infinite. I liked Res Infinite because it feels like an old arcade game. Let's take a look at virtual reality reviewer. So we're looking at virtual reality reviewer. That was PC Mag. I don't see it. I think it's discontinued. That's true. Most people just want to know how much it is. If it's over $100, they got a problem with it. Which means it takes a lot to get to $200. I'm even seeing TVs selling for $100 to $200 now. Smart TVs, can you believe it? I could have picked up one for 200 at Target, 100 on Amazon, fully loaded. We're looking at vrgamecritic.com. What is the problem now? It could be discontinued. How about Tom's Guide? I didn't think these would be really good. Well, I wasn't familiar with them. That's all. 8K TVs are finally get 8K content. What you need to know. Now, there isn't very much content, probably from yeah. Whew. Oh, I saw something with 8K. I thought I was in a Arena hotel room. Xbox shoots down VR gaming on Series X. It's not big enough for dedicated Xbox Series X games or hardware. I don't know if that's true. I don't know why they didn't connect the mixed multimedia set to their console. That puts them at a slight disadvantage for a certain kind of experience if you're really into it. MetaQuest Plus, Meta's VR gaming subscription is finally here. I'm super excited about it. This is good. The Apple VR AR headset shipments could be delayed until 2024. That's okay. I can't afford it even until 2025. Um, there's a lot of talk about Apple Vision Pro, which could be AR versus VR. I'm not sure if it's VR. It could be on the VR bandwagon while being an AR headset. Okay, so here's what I would say. Digital Trends gave PlayStation good representation. Tom's Guide is giving good Apple representation. It has actually a pretty good article that I would like to read about VR gaming and Series X. And PC Mag was kind of retro for the PC VR crowd who were in the who got into the VR arcade experience. So on digitaltrends.com, you could read about PlayStation VR 2. On PCMag.com, you can get some game ideas for your VR arcade. And on tomsguide.com, you can get some up to date information about the new Apple AR Vision Pro device that's coming out next year. Not a huge amount of data, but just enough. If you are interested in PlayStation VR 2, digitaltrends.com has some information. If you own a VR arcade or are considering owning, PCMag.com has a little bit of information for you. And if you're interested in the new Apple AR device, tomsguide.com has some information for you. what he said is so probably true. We have 10 games that we have achieved over 10 million players live today, which is a pretty big accomplishment. But that's the kind of scale that we need to see success for the game. It's not quite there yet with AR, VR, Rudy said in an interview with the Hollywood Reporter. 8 billion people. They achieved over 10 million players live today on 10 games. Meta Quest 2 having reportedly sold in excess of 14 million units, and the Quest 3 set to launch this fall. So those are the numbers I quoted as well. I'm not getting any clarification. The Bible has much more impressive numbers. It could have achieved 5 billion units sold. I say that because the Bible is the best-selling book on earth. It represents the interests of Jewish people in particular. And a guy from Israel made quite a name for himself. But it also may have achieved 5 billion units sold since the Gutenberg Bible was published. Not bad. Okay, so I was going to read from Best Technologies for Public Libraries. Age concerns, health concerns. Safety is a concern with VR, especially with HMDs obscuring the user sight. Oculus Rift and Gear VR headsets are recommended for ages 13 and older. PlayStation VR limits age to 12 and older, and the HTC Vive is not designed for children. Google states that Google Cardboard is safe for children with adult supervision. We're not working with Oculus Rift necessarily, unless you want to buy a retro unit, Oculus Rift and Gear. But from a collector's point of view, I wouldn't mind for a couple $100, no more than a couple $100, finding out what they were loaded with. 150 to $200. I might be curious. HTC Vive is very expensive, but they have a subscription service called Viveport, which does support the HTC Vive with a full portfolio of content. The problem is you have to connect it to a compatible computer. Maybe I just need to wrap my mind around it over and over again. But when I looked on the MetaQuest site, it did actually seem complicated. Like the link cable works with this, but not that, with this, but not that, with this, but not that. So that quality of information is not necessarily easy to find, even from Vive or HTC as a company. They're not. I mean, MetaQuest might have done a better job. If we sell you this cable, just be aware it is compatible with this, but not that. We're not getting that kind of information, and to some extent, PC VR is outdated. But for the record, HTC Vive has a really good subscription service. If you do make it to a compatible computer, especially if you want to access a retro VR collection. PlayStation VR 1 I don't recommend because of too many eye irritations. Oculus Rift and Gear VR are eBay kind of acquisitions, maybe even Kmart. I might have a couple. Google Cardboard, don't do it. I mean, if you want, like, I guess as a novelty, if you want to, like, try it out. But I don't recommend that either. There are health concerns for children under the age of 13 who utilize VR, particularly since very young children may not be able to properly verbalize discomfort to a parent or adult. Additionally, they may not be aware of pre-existing conditions that could be triggered by a VR experience, Lamont 2017. But that being said, there are many simple VR experiences designed for children. The Meta Quest 2 was a bit heavy, in my opinion, for children. It could have put some ice cream. Not recommended for VR arcades. But that being said, there are many simple VR experiences designed for children. Without any real research data on the long-term effects of VR on the eyes and brain of someone under the age of 13, having a prohibition against children to use or waiver in place may help to insulate the library from any potential liability in the long run. But that is, of course, the problem. I mean, there are hygiene issues. As YouTube librarian, there may be hygiene issues when sharing a VR headset with other people. There may be liability issues with an intentional trip and fall. There may be theft-related issues by having it, putting it into circulation. You gotta be honest with yourself. There really could be a theft issue, especially when someone finds out that they could have a VR porn experience. There could be hygiene issues. You don't know if someone tears up and then the drops go behind the germs go behind the headset. There are liability issues. You could have an intentional trip and fall. So, and government agencies like libraries are more likely to get sued. So there really are some issues. There are safety concerns. There are hygiene issues. There are theft related concerns. There may be inappropriate behavior. VR porn is not without some um, concern because of borderline borderline age related issues in which someone could say that well, she looked like a minor. So um, there are issues. With that being said, there are many simple VR experiences designed for children without any real research data on the long-term effects of VR on the eyes and brain of someone under 13. Having a prohibition against children's use or a waiver in place may help to insulate the library from any potential liability in the long term. Additionally, all of the major manufacturers recommend no more than 30 minutes of time in the virtual world and to take 10 to 15-minute breaks between sessions. And believe me, I try to practice. People prone to seizures because of rapidly blinking lights are also not advised to wear VR HMDs. That's as YouTube library. That's not what I'm concerned about. People are prone to motion sickness, may also experience nausea. Prolonged use of VR HMDs can also cause eye soreness or trouble focusing. I hope that doesn't happen. If the library is concerned about these potential risks, then policy needs to be crafted along with waivers if the library is going to allow these at-risk groups to experience VR waivers. I produced a VR waiver form for my events at Replay, the pink color game. Let me go grab it. We could read it along with this chapter. Okay, so since I was in the massage industry, I'm very comfortable with waiver forms. No problem. I had an event at a local pinball arcade, and I had no problem preparing my first draft of a virtual reality client intake form. It's not altogether a waiver form, but it is to some extent. Let me see. I said virtual reality client intake form, librarian and massage therapist Dubensky, a service provider. HTC Vive Flow has a great game called Space Slurpees. MetaQuest 2 has a new car racing game called Grid. Spend a few minutes before putting on the VR headset by reviewing the following websites on your cell phone: Oculus.com/safety-center and Vive.com/US/product/Vive-flow/overview/. It's recommended to not do virtual reality for more than 30 minutes per session. Controllers work specific to the game. If you get stuck, let me know. I'll give you a different VR headset. The device will be cleaned with an antibacterial wipe. You will be given a face mask for the device. PayPal billing requires providing email address. The current charge is the industry standard $1 per minute upon being given a VR headset. Recommended current retail opportunities for VR headsets include Meta Quest 2, PlayStation VR 2, Now VR 1, and HTC Vive Flow. Available at www.meta.com, www.vive.com, and www.playstation.com. Please sign that you have read this virtual reality client to form and provide your email address for PayPal billing. There may be a Square option for an on-site credit card transaction. My current practice, if you don't experience a virtual reality environment or get stuck in the first VR headset, I will give you a different brand of VR so you can continue. Handing me the VR headset stops the experience from a financial point of view. Handing you the second headset continues the clock. If you want to get to know both brands, and hand me the first headset for a switcheroo. The HTC Vive Flow headset is lighter than the Meta Quest 2 VR headset, but may be tighter on the head. HTC Vive Flow requires adjusting a diopter, which is a circular adjuster to your vision on the inside of the headset. There's a volume button for sound for both the HTC Vive Flow and Meta Quest 2 VR headset. The Meta Quest 2 VR headset can be adjusted to better fit your head by adjusting a strap and moving a circular adjuster at the back of the headset. You'll be given an opportunity to establish your virtual reality zone at the beginning of the VR experience. Sitting at the table is more comfortable, but it is recommended by the manufacturer you stand in a space clear of obstructions. Name, date, email address. So that was my client intake form for an entrepreneurial virtual reality event at a pinball arcade. Here is the recommendation for waivers on best technology for public libraries. As is the case with many modern forms of library event programming, there are some potential risks involved with your experience. With that being said, the potential for harm is slight. We'll work to detail some of the more prominent risk factors, but do not let these factors prevent your library from experiencing a VR program. In order to limit library liability, we strongly recommend that libraries craft a waiver that must be signed by participants before any event, and that library staff are made aware of and trained to deal with potential VR side effects. First of all, libraries must be prepared to give VR participants space to maneuver. For example, as a player is engaged with an active game like Beat Saber, there's absolutely the chance they will be flying around, perhaps even a force. With the headset attached to their face, they will be unable to see their actual surroundings. While the library presenter will be on hand to keep a player's movement in check, there's always the chance they can make contact with another patron despite the presenter's best efforts to clear space. Any waiver that is crafted should detail this risk and explain to participants that physical contact may occur. It should also be stated that some VR experiences are tethered to a computer console. There's always a chance that a participant may get tangled in or trip over a connecting wire. Library staff should be mindful of wire placement and be quick to halt a VR experience if a patron is in immediate danger. Similarly, if a patron is flying around or is about to lose their balance, a library staff member may have to grab them forcefully and quickly. This should be mentioned in a waiver, or at the very least verbally explained to participants by staff before the experience begins. Another serious concern should be the fact that a small portion of the human population may have epilepsy and be at risk for conditions that can trigger the symptom. This can be an issue in VR since many of our experiences that will be offered to patrons will be video game content that may contain repetitive flashing lights and complex patterns. To be fair, this risk is not necessarily new to library programming. Many libraries have offered video game events and tournaments in recent years. All of these gaming events and tournament events should carry a small risk of triggering epilepsy as well. There is concern among a device manufacturer that VR experience may trigger that effect on those that are susceptible. A seizure? That could mean if you flaunt your device, you might have it stolen. Since many adults may have had epilepsy and have not been exposed to triggers, there's a slight chance that a VR experience may be the first time they experience symptoms. The epilepsy warning should absolutely be added to any VR event in that library. I'll let them do that. But I actually don't want to do either of those recommendations. Like, you might hit someone, you might get epilepsy or a seizure. When talking about VR negative experiences, one that is most likely is motion sickness. VR is still in a state in which it displays how tracking routes which are functions are used. Not exactly perfect, they are still far from the human eye and other senses feel and interacting with the true environment. For that reason, some people may experience a little motion sickness, so that's true, when using a VR headset. This may cause dizziness or nausea. Patrons must be aware of this risk before starting a VR session, and library staff must be able to respond to the situation quickly. But I thought is that they should get some Ativan for anti-anxiety before, because they might be a little bit nervous, but that would be illegal. Patrons may lose their balance and need to sit down or be assisted. Other patrons may become physically ill and get sick to their stomach. It isn't pretty. But some VR events and libraries have a garbage can close proximity to which these effects are usually remedied very quickly by removing the headset and sitting down. The act of getting physically ill can be hugely embarrassing for a library patron. So again, it is critical to have them understand the risks of participating. Once when I was doing a chair massage event at O'Hara, a long time ago when I just started practicing massage, a violinist fainted in my chair. And that's an extraordinary event in massage therapist career. And that's the kind of situation they're discussing. A very extraordinarily rare freak out or health crisis. Um, should that be given? How much emphasis should there be on an exceptional situation? Yes, to some extent, you could, all kinds of that, yeah, you could. I have to think about it. What you're saying is that occasionally someone has a seizure, hits someone, trips and falls. I don't know. Finally, some VR participants may experience blurry vision when utilizing VR. This could be due to a variety of factors, and it should be explained to patrons that this may occur. Again, have staff close by to assist with patrons who may be uneasy with movement while experiencing vision issues. Very scary if you have a vision issue, because you might feel really bad about having the VR experience. Like, I shouldn't have done that. It's the devil. For a terrific overview of potential VR risks, we highly recommend reading a super quick safety guide to letting your kids use VR headsets on wearable.com. That could be good. With all that being said, these effects are rare and will likely only afflict an extremely small number of VR participants. Surely the positive experience that your program attendees will quickly show that anxiety regarding VR sickness are largely unwarranted. As with any library event that requires a waiver, be sure to have all waiver and policy language vetted by library administration or library legal counsel. So, I mean, those are kind of like rare worst case scenario issues. But let's take a look at this super quick safety guide to letting your kids use VR headsets. www. So I'm looking at wearable. Okay, so somebody is up to date, but I think that information is no longer here. Okay, let's look at best VR headsets 2023. Top picks from Meta, Apple, Sony, PlayStation, and more. Fancy the top VR headset for gaming? The Sony PlayStation VR 2 is our favorite option. Want an all-arounder that's also portable? The Meta Quest 2 is your best bet. Need something high-powered to sit alongside your PC? So I'm noticing there's like an afterthought with these literature in which I would like for the following to also be included. Price on MetaQuest right now, $299. That's such a good price. I would have considered buying a second one. Oh, yeah, I already did. I'm trying to buy a second one. Mm. Well, they're not conservative when recommending the I'll tell them that much. Remember, check out Wikipedia. A list of accepted VR headsets, list of VR headsets, because it's almost for sure that the ones that are included are viable and functional. You'll have to Wikipedia virtual reality and then look for a list of VR headsets. I consider that to be the best source of information for virtual reality headsets at this time because mm, if it's a contested issue, they might remove it. Okay, so that was best technologies for public libraries, policies, programs, and services. And I, as a librarian, will have to review that because I don't know if I want to mention the possibility of a seizure, the possibility of nausea, the possibility of eye blurriness, the possibility of, hitting someone or tripping. It was like that would mean you would have to say, I told you that you might end up having eye blurriness, nausea, seizure, trip and fall, so don't sue me if that happens. I'm gonna have to think about it. Okay, so that was that portion of the programming, and then I want to put on the Pico 4 and have a little bit of fun discussing it. Okay, so let's take a look. Over here, it does say Pico G3, and it says VR all-in-one headset. It says that its a model number is A7Q10. That was made in China. There is an inception date, April 27, 2023, with something scannable. And this is not a battery. This is for the strap to secure it on your head. Here is to insert your headphones. This is the volume. And here's the Pico logo again. see. Patient intervention comparative outcomes is what it might stand for. And then these probably are slightly adjustable. And this is cleanable. You can remove it. This and clean it. If I break it, oh my gosh, will I be upset? I'm not going to take it out because it's getting nervous. Some show and tell experience has gone bad. But actually, you should be able to remove it, yeah. I don't know why I'm nervous. Actually, what is that? It seems I might have gone a different one. Weird. Ooh. Okay. So I removed it. It's just for cleaning purposes. Easier to clean the device. And that's all you get for hygiene. You get to remove that and clean it, yeah. You don't get to enter into the VR headset, which is how weird some people can get about hygiene. So remember that when people are really paranoid about hygiene, they think the germs will get into here. And there's nothing we can do about that. This may have suggested a ventilation or a heat exhaustion, but I suspect the Snapdragon is here. It's supposed to kind of suggest, salvage it for parts. Don't just get rid of it. It might be a precious microchip in there. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. So here we are. We're in the Pico G3, and I contacted ByteDance, and they can always do a system update if they want to improve my experience. What else could you do at this point? You can't do an installation anymore. The company was in Netherlands. But ByteDance could decide to do a system update and resolve any issues I might have. Why don't we share Pico Analytics? They would love that. There's a factory reset option. That's good to know. That's annoying. Well, what is that? Resolution 3664 by 1920. I got 42 gigabytes left. I've heard on this hard drive. 67% of the hard drive has been used already, and I've already edited it. 3,600. Let's go watch. Doesn't that make you want to go and watch the Idol on the Max? If you saw those kind of numbers, believe it, Michael, I want to go see the Idol after seeing that kind of resolution. I mean, the film looks good. I'm probably heading into meditation mode, folks. This is actually episode 5 of the Idol. I made it to episode 5. And if this is actually Kane, yeah, he's all right. As he's cast okay, man. Yeah, he's all right. I don't have a problem with them too. I think this is the Connect, and she's this new AI stroker. I can't believe I got rid of him. You know, I did. Well, if she's the AI stroker, she has a better chance. I don't know how he feels about being Connect. You know, that's how he doesn't look like he feels too good about being Connect, to be honest with you. But I like his outfit. It's like he's combining like a 1970s track sweatsuit with like a kind of fancy shirt with. Actually, it's a track suit, not a fancy shirt. Yeah, but for it works, doesn't it? Somehow with the glasses that he's wearing and the unshaven hair. So how come that works for him? Because he's black. That could actually be like hard to find, tracksuit. Those are not like necessarily available. Do you actually see that kind of resolution in this image? Do you see it? We saw Barbie looked phenomenal. Yeah, Barbie looked slick. So this particular experience that I'm having right now costs me $73 a month. For $73 a month, I get Wi-Fi 5.0 GHC, and I also get the Max. I don't. I do have my PlayStation 4 connected directly to the cable box, so there is a secure internet connection over there with the PlayStation 4. But the 5.0 GHC connection and the Max cost me $73 a month. And I know that some people argue about prices. It's, to some extent, we are all paying for internet. Yes, so we're paying a lot as a group for internet. So even though some people could argue, you are in fact getting a lot of value for $73, considering the fact that everybody has to pay for their own home internet and phone internet service. It does add up to a lot of money for the internet. A lot, like huge amount of money. So it is. I mean, I don't feel guilty about it, but I'm not like. I don't want to like argue about it too much, given the kind of quality of action I'm getting from the internet with virtual reality. So, like, do you think that's expensive? $73 for one person, a household of one. You know, my wife and I, we also pay for home internet at another apartment, so that's another $50, and then she pays for her phone. That's another probably $80. So I don't think we should feel guilty about paying $73 for the max. You do know with Astound by RCN, unlike the old days when they would provide you with TV, cable, I mean, I only get the max. So when I tell you that my PlayStation 4 is connected directly to the cable box, I do in fact pay a monthly fee for the cable box. The installation was quite elaborate. So there's a cable box, there's a direct connection to the PlayStation 4, there's Wi-Fi 5.0, and there's the Max for essential service. And so what I'm saying is I'm not going to feel guilty about paying $73 for virtual reality because I think we do in fact pay a lot of money as a group. On the other hand, we clock in a lot of hours when it comes to watching quote unquote TV. So from that point of view, if over 50% of our leisure time activities are spent watching TV, we must be watching a lot of internet cable. Smart TV adoption, the numbers are we're getting mixed reviews on. It has achieved universal contemporariness, but we're getting mixed reviews from in terms of how many people get to any shows, how many people get to anything anymore. We also lost TV advertising to some extent, so there are actually a lot of issues. Um, so all I wanted to say is that to watch this costs $73 a month, but I also pay for ComEd electricity. And my ComEd electricity bill went from $100 down to 40, but just for this apartment. So that's 73 plus 40. Now it's over $100 to watch the show because you do in fact have to recharge all of the time. Oh, this is nice. You get to choose between Google and Google. Wait a minute. This is not necessarily Google. I like bookmarks. Wow. What do we just do? We probably put this button here, home, and we added this bookmark, this house and the book. So yeah, we got to 54 minutes. I talked about that. You know, this is a new generation web TV with the Pico browser. I mean, I feel very privileged to have a chance to watch that. I did watch The Gossip Girl, and I watched Succession, and I watched the Selena Gomez cooking show. But I didn't do Game of Thrones necessarily the way everyone else did. Just kind of in the Lord of the Rings category. This feels very much like LA versus Chicago. There is like a slight. I don't get a Chicago vibe. Gossip Girl was set in New York. It felt very much like New York. Succession was totally corporate, but not site specific to any particular city, in my opinion. This is coming across like LA. Where's the infinity pool? This is what they do. Like, well, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm gonna enjoy the idol. Thank you for watching YouTube Librarian on Wednesday, July 26, 2023.